What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Engadget Podcast live stream. How's it going? Good morning. I'm Devindra Hardwar. This morning I'm joined with Sherlyn Lowe. Hey, Sherlyn.
Hi.
Hello, Sam Rutherford.
Hey, how's it going?
And our podcast producer, Ben Ullman. Hey, Ben.
And this is Hollywood Squares.
Oh boy.
Brady Bunch. It's, we get to do the theme song and everything.
Yeah,
Good morning.
Wait, wrong side.
Good morning to
Video
everybody.
producer Julio literally calls it a Brady Bunch shot.
It is the Brady Bunch shot. Good morning, especially to Daniel Diaz in the chat room in Puerto Rico right now with no power, no broadband, and tuning in from an LTE hotspot. That is dedication also.
Holy crap.
Seriously,
Good luck.
like that is
Good
so
luck.
amazing.
Chonkster of a fan. Big time
Yeah.
chonk fan.
I mean, please focus on your own survival and everything rather than our show, but that is super cool. And shout out to everybody in Puerto Rico right now. Like I've got extended family there. It never got good after Maria, and it's still bad now. So, ugh.
Dhruv Karmokar says that they just got their Galaxy Buds 2 delivered. Now you can hear the podcast in 360. Yay!
You don't want that. You don't want that.
You want to hear me yelling at you while Devindra tisk
360.
in the background. Yes,
I
you
mean,
do.
isn't it for them? It's still spatial audio is like it centers the audio, and then you turn your head so that it's all coming from one direction. That is the idea.
It's a little weird. I actually just got the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro also. And actually the thing I like about this is how small they are. They're like
That's cool.
Extremely comfortable.
That's super cool. I'm really looking at the AirPods Pro 2, but you know what? We will talk about it on the show.
Hi to Kenneth. Hi to Buddy
Hello.
305 Love. Dude named Charlie.
Dude named Charlie.
I need to scroll up.
Everybody, Mark B. Yakov. Or
Daniel
you could
Diaz,
read it,
obviously. Chooch. Yeah, and Mark B. and Yakov
Mark-
and
yeah,
everyone
Mark
else.
B.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. We're
We
going to be
still-
talking about,
Yeah, we'd still love to hear where you're tuning in from. We've got Puerto Rico and Florida and Australia so far, but always interested in where everybody else is tuning in from.
Curious where in Australia, too.
Yep. Oh, good. Amar says, anyone else seeing audio sync issues? I'm not noticing.
Okay, we are going to figure
We
the
are
audio
looking.
sync
We are
issue.
looking.
We're looking, and we might have to do a bit of a restart.
Yeah.
But
Two
bear
reports,
with us.
Julio. Just FYI.
We're gonna
Sure. Okay,
restart
we'll be
right
right
now,
back,
y'all,
folks.
and be
We're back, folks. Let us know if anything still sounds weird or if the sync looks bad. But hello to everybody for joining us. I saw some other locations here. Rob Langley from Lincoln, UK. Hello, Rob.
Yes, thanks for the patience and thanks for joining or waiting for us.
Yeah.
My chat hung, so
We'll just get right into it. We've got iPhone
Melbourne. I love
repairability.
Melbourne.
We've got NVIDIA cards to talk about. So get your thoughts going. If you've got questions, we will field some in between segments. Hello, Mark B from Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne.
I
used to spend a lot of time in the Dandenongs, so
Okay.
I
you just making
don't
things
know
up
what
now?
that means.
Yeah,
the
right.
Dandenong
What do you-
Mountain, like it's like the Outback, whatever. It's not
the
really
Outback.
the Outback, but it's near Melbourne. Anyway,
That's cool. Okay, I think we are good to go.
Okay.
Show notes up.
Yeah, so your show notes can jump up, and so let's sync.
Phones
so
on silent too, everybody.
Yes.
All the phones.
Rasmus Christensen says tuned in from Denmark.
Hello.
Hey,
hello. All right.
I was in Denmark like 2
Are you
weeks ago.
syncing? Oh yeah, you were.
Yes.
With Chennai, India, Liverpool.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Ooh, Liverpool. Okay, yes, let's sync. So counting down from 3. Chat, you can clap at the end of 3 also, and then we're gonna do like a really quick, like 5 seconds of silence. So 3, 2, 1. All right, some silence. I'll let you know when it's over. Okay, silence over.
Apparently, we're still having audio sync issues, but
Is it bad?
Better, but not quite fixed all the way, I think.
Okay. Okay.
okay,
One
we're
more
going
pause and
to
then
come
we'll get
back,
to the
but
show.
we're at least synced now, so we'll
Yes.
stay synced. Yeah, okay. So, guys,
Hello, we're back. Hopefully sync is better. Julio, our video producer, is working on it, but things are tough. I'm thinking Julio's graphics cards are just hearing us talking about the 4090.
yeah,
They're like,
their
Yep.
ears are burning. They're like,
oh.
oh no.
yeah? You don't trust me now? From the Bahamas, I see Buddy 305 Love.
Wow.
Oh, man. Okay.
All right, shall we jump into the show?
jump
We're gonna
in.
see if
Let's
the
go.
sync is. We're gonna keep an eye on the sync, so let us know. But in the meantime, yeah, we're gonna move on, man.
Okay,
Looks
good.
good so far.
good.
So yeah.
I'll do our usual intro with you, Shalyn, and then Sam, I will call you out specifically, okay? So don't worry about it.
It did not
Okay.
end. Hey,
Not end.
XBX, we're here.
We're here. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. What's up, Internet, and welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devindra Hardawar.
Oh, yeah.
That's you.
I'm Deputy Editor Sherlyn Lowe.
Do you want to do that together? Or
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. What's up, Internet, and welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devindra Hardawar.
I'm Deputy Editor Sherlyn Lowe.
Joining us today is Sam Rutherford, Senior Writer. Hey, Sam.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. This is a super geeky episode because honestly, I'm a little tired about talking about all the Apple stuff, but there's one more thing. There are a couple more things we can talk about. So there was the great iFixes teardown of the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro Max. So I want to talk about the 14 especially and why it's so cool that it's so repairable. And also NVIDIA finally announced their new RTX 4000 series GPUs. And those are just super exciting. Although I really wonder who are they actually for? As always, if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to subscribe on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Drop us an email, podcast@engadget.com, and you can join us live Thursdays around 10 a.m. Eastern at our YouTube channel. But let's get straight into the iPhone 14, which we've talked so much about this phone, Sherlyn, and I think the overarching idea is that it seems kind of boring, right? Like they reused the iPhone 13 Pro processor. They didn't really change much otherwise. Maybe the cameras were a little better, but otherwise kind of a humdrum update. Until iFixit tore this thing open.
No, here,
like,
I want to be very clear on this. This is not something we didn't know. This is something we said in our review too, that like Apple has said one of the biggest changes to the iPhone 14 is something we can't see until we break the back glass of the phone, which is repairability. It's improved repairability. This is something we knew since the review. It's written in our reviews as well. But obviously I wasn't going to break my review unit just to see if it was easier to repair. But yes, to be clear.
It was one thing to believe Apple saying it, then
yes,
one thing to
it's
see.
nice to see iFixit for sure be able to tear it. Because like who else but iFixit could figure that out too, right? For us, like I'm not gonna but yeah, to your point, the back glass has been separated from the housing. So if you drop your phone and you crack the back glass, you can now only replace the back glass without having to change out the whole enclosure. That is at least
in
what
the
Apple
past, that was like a $550 fix just for the back glass if you really wanted to fix it. And I think by that point, most people are like, I can live with broken back glass. It's fine. It's not like it's not
put a case on it. Yeah.
Put a case on. It's not hurting my operation of the phone typically. So that's not that. It's good to see this change, but also the back panel comes off and you have easier access to just about everything, like all the components. And I find that really interesting too. In general, it looks like iFixit, if you take a look at their videos and their photos, like they remove the bottom screws, they're able to use the suction thing and get the screens off. But once you open it up, it's very easy to get in there and get to different components. They're just more visible, more reachable. And they gave it the highest score they've ever given an iPhone, which is kind of a big deal. What's interesting here is that the iPhone 14 Pro or the Pro Max that they also tore down doesn't have any of this.
No, yeah.
So
it was the basic iPhone 14 that got this redesign, whereas the Pro models are still kind of stuck to that older design. Apple did say it changed up some of the internal design of the Pro series a little bit, and I have the details, but they're kind of out of reach right now. It's a little bit on how they place the speakers and that sort of stuff. But yeah, not with the same enclosure.
Not super
difference.
simple. Yeah. I do think, just like between us, like, do you guys think this is Apple responding to the whole DIY self-repair trend out there? Like they announced the plan to give you guides, give you parts, and let you order it too. Like Sam, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think this is sort of Apple's responding to pressure because even outside of the US, they're starting, governments are starting to be like, hey, we want to improve sustainability. And one of the big, ways you do that is you make things more repairable. And so I think this is sort of Apple getting out ahead of the curve. At the same time, this is also still kind of Apple being Apple, if you look at it, because, highest score ever, I think iFixit gave it a 7 out of 10, which is good, but not exceptional. And one other thing that they mentioned in their teardown is that it looks like Apple is using software locks for some of these repair components. And they mentioned that even the back glass has a software lock on it. And that's actually just a really weird move because it's like, you have this glass that has no circuit boards or anything in it really, and that you still have to go into the software and enable it officially. And so that's a really weird thing to do. And So it's like on one hand, yes, the phone is more repairable, but on the other hand, now there's more steps and there's a more complicated procedure for adding what should be a pretty straightforward repair.
This feels like when I need to get my toddler ready for school in the morning and she just like plays limp. It was like, oh, you have to drag me to the door now.
Right.
So yes, we are dragging Apple to the door of repairability and DIY fixing. Like, okay, components. But I don't want to get rid of my software locks. Come on, guys. You have to use actual Apple components, and we're only going to make it so. I do feel like for the Face ID sensor, we've talked about this before. Like, it makes sense there to be like, hey, you got to use a real Face ID sensor. Like, we're not going to let you like mess around, because that's a great way to like hack a phone or steal somebody's like data. But the back glass, I don't think they need that.
Yeah, that's a weird choice for sure.
So you talked with Apple a lot around these phones, Sherlyn. Like, were they highlighting it in your briefings and stuff, or were they like, oh yeah, by the way, more repairable?
Yeah, they did. So I mean, the iPhone 14, they focus is where this is more of a big deal. And then they were telling us, oh yeah, 12 megapixel sensor, bigger sensor, and larger microns. So like the repairability part came at the end. It was more like, oh, internal redesign, remove the back glass from the housing, and so now that brings their wording is always very consistent, right? They're very scripted, they're very rehearsed. So the wording is more or less along the lines of like, oh, and this brings about two benefits. One, better repairability, and two, better heat dissipation. So it's clear this repairability issue is top of mind for them, and they're, in the briefings that I have attended anyway, they usually are the first to say this is also a cost benefit to consumers, which is a good point. And I will say, and I know like we like to hate on Apple, and I do too, but in this case, they've managed to make this redesign feel like it's nothing different, right? The phones, like I said, feel exactly the same as last generation. For better or worse, they feel exactly the same as the last generation. So
right, because I was going to say, it seems like some people were just expecting a little bit more. And it seems like Apple may have just like overhyped a little bit and then kind of under delivered as far as like the overall like improvements generation for generation for the 14.
Yeah, the regular model is not hugely improved. We've talked about this at length, but the 14 Pro, honestly, y'all,
so good.
I switched over. I haven't converted my SIM yet.
The Android Queen has officially switched over.
Oh, my Pixel 6 Pro is like languishing in the background, especially because, and we'll get to this later.
No
I'm
dynamic
sure.
island on the Pixel 6 Pro.
No, I'm not. I don't care so much about that. It's more because lately I've been using the AirPods Pro 2, the 2022 model. We can talk about that in a little bit, but
we can.
Once I got that going, it was like sayonara, Pixel 6 Pro.
One thing I want to mention, a couple of people have mentioned to me, like they are now seeking out like used iPhone 13s or discounted iPhone 13s. Should they just hold off and go for the 14 now because of this repairability thing? I don't think that's worth it enough, unless you think you're either really clumsy or giving it to somebody who's clumsy and may need a lot of repairs. But in general, I would take that discount and put a case on it, baby. Like,
yes,
put a case on it, put a screen protector on it. That's the best way to protect your devices right now. But Sherlyn, the AirPods Pro 2, you've been testing it. Billy Steele just reviewed it over at the main Engadget site. He seems to really like it. Score of 88, which is good. Sounds like a worthwhile improvement for him, despite having the same design, kind of so battery life. How are you liking them?
I am pretty impressed so far. I mean, I helped Billy with the review video, so that's also up on the Engadget YouTube channel now. It might be a little bit jarring because you hear Billy's beautiful drawl and accent in the background. Then you see me, like a city dweller, just like chomping along the streets or whatever. But
you really chump along streets? Okay.
I did, yeah, just like me, just pretending to look at my purse for the AirPods, and then I actually lost them, so I couldn't find it. Anyway, and it's me pretending to be in an iPod commercial, trying to like chill against the wall. So as I shot the video for him, I was reading his script and learning some things about what's new and what he liked and didn't. And one of the features that's new to the AirPods Pro is the touch sensitive panel now on the stick. Yeah. Now Billy says, and Billy has such great lines in his review too. He said something like, oh, at this point it would be, too much probably to hope for Apple to do away with that stick butt design. I think he doesn't like it. I think for a lot of different people, it doesn't work very well. And so for them to place the touch sensitive panel on the stick.
There you go.
I know. You would think it's like, hallelujah, finally touch controls, but they place them in a sort of awkward position, right? When I read the script, I was like, oh, okay, you can touch up and down. And before I read the script, I was not having an issue with the touch panel until Billy pointed out that like if you have to brace the stick with your thumb and then use your index finger to kind of go up and down to switch the volume. And I was
just like lightly swipe easily.
You can, but depending on the fit for you, like for me, my right ear has no problem with me just using my index finger and no brace, just going up and down. But my left ear, the second I start jabbing at it with the looking for the touch controls, the thing starts trying to fall out of my ear. So that's one of the issues that you're going to have with the touch controls on the AirPods Pro 2022.
I think that's why it probably wasn't in the original version too, and people complained about it. But I have lived with those, with the Beats Fit Pro, other wireless earbuds that don't have volume controls, and like unless you're exercising a lot, right, and your phone is far away, or you don't have another way to control your volume, like you also have voice commands to control volume. You know,
I love volume control on the phone. On the buds. Same, right, Sam? Like, because it's just so much more convenient. It's not just for exercise. I get it. Like, when I was on the treadmill a lot, it was just so much easier to, like, use that because sometimes some parts of songs are not as loud as they should be or whatever. But, and we shot a clip of this. I don't know if it made it into the final review, but, like, for me, volume change is very important when I'm changing from indoors and outdoors, subway and up or whatever. You can use noise cancellation, sure, but I don't always want to use noise cancellation when I'm, stepping in and out of these places. So it's nice. We were grateful that it came, but then the implementation is fine. It's not such a huge inconvenience to use your thumb to brace it. But I don't know, Sam. I mean, you seem like you might have some thoughts too.
Yeah, no, I think what you're kind of hitting on is like I think the platonic ideal of like earbuds is that you put your earbuds in and you never have to touch your phone again to adjust like your songs or audio or whatever. And so like I think you want to be able to, like the core functions you want on an earbud touch controls is like pause, play, skip track, rewind, and then control audio. And then ideally you also want to be able to way to toggle like ANC on and off. And so I think, manufacturers are trying to like figure out like a control system that makes sense. In Samsung on the Galaxy Buds Pro 2, they have like an experimental labs feature where they have, the buds normally have like a touch sensitive panel on the side, but they actually divided it in half so that the front part of the touch thing is what you use to adjust volume. And it's still an experimental feature. And so like for me, like I've been like learning how to use that. And it's like, I think I like the idea of that more. And because there's no like stick on the Galaxy Buds, you don't have to worry about it like,
falling out,
rearranging the fit. Yeah. Or like causing the earbuds to fall out.
Are you guys still annoyed by the stick? Because I feel like if you do want a fully like stick free, Apple experience, there's the Beats Fit Pro, which sound really good too. Sounded better than the original AirPods Pro. But the stick seems like you use that to have a better microphone experience, to have better call quality when you're actually talking to people. So I found at least the AirPods are better at that because of the stick, right?
I don't mind the stick. I've never minded the stick butt design. I even don't mind if they're not in ears, in the sense that it's a more flat butt, right? Like the basic AirPods. I'm very okay with that. I think Huawei actually made a version of them ages ago.
Of course.
Of course. It's like a clone. And Huawei managed to have touch controls on those things, but they never would work because of wind interference, because my hair was in my ear.
Yeah.
So I get that touch controls on earbuds are a very tricky issue. To be clear too, on the AirPods Pro 2022, you still have the squeeze controls, right? So you still squeeze the sticks twice to skip forward, once to pause, and three times to go backwards, and long press for ANC or sound profile toggles. So there's still that. The touch controls are there purely at this point for volume control.
I feel like maybe I have like bad memories from some Jabra like exercise headphones I've had, which had physical buttons, and sometimes you have to like push it hard and it would hit your ears.
You hurt your ear canal with like trying to push it in, and like that was never a good word.
Never great. Anyway, AirPods Pro 2 sound good. How did you try the sort of like adjusted transparency mode, Trillin? Because that sounds interesting.
So there's a lot of new features too, right? The adjusted transparency mode, you mean like the ambient, personalized ambient?
It kind of changes as you move from environments and stuff.
I didn't change that many environments, but I did see that, so a few things. One is I did set up personalized spatial audio, which uses sort of like a Face ID setup method. It scans your head and then it scans each ear through the phone's Face ID cameras, and then creates like a profile for you. And I remember reading in Billy's review that he didn't really actually appreciate like the personalized version that the Apple came up with. I haven't spent enough time listening to like music before and after setting that up, because I actually really only did it for the video, because I don't want to like redo it too many times. So that feature, I would say Billy doesn't seem to be super impressed by. And I'll get back to you.
That's not new to these earbuds, because on my Beats Fit Pro, you can also do the sort of like camera, like personalization stuff. And
Interesting.
I
wasn't aware of that. The other thing is that I thought was actually pretty cool is that you can use the mics on the AirPods Pro to suppress environmental noise that could hurt your hearing. That was very cool, because you also use it with Apple Watch to kind of see how it's in use, right? So like I was looking at the Apple Watch and putting some there was no noise really around me in our office, but our video producer Joel was like, yeah. Like we were just like making noise around, and you can see that the decibels that it was detecting was like maybe 69 decibels when Joel was making like saying something, and then you can see by how much the AirPods were sort of like minimizing what you hear. So it was like, oh, we're taking this down to 25 decibels instead of the 69 decibels it would otherwise be in your ear. Cool. Right? Like I definitely didn't hear like Joel screaming in my ear, but I don't know if that was because there is a physical barrier, right? Or because the mics are that good, or the Apple system is that great. That's
a good thing is sort of like New York subway stuff, right? Because like as trains are coming in, super loud, you hear all the wheels and you go, and like I feel like if it can just automatically boost suppression for that, and then as you get in, it kind of chills. Because when I wear earbuds, certainly when I was in New York, like I would just walk around with one earbud, basically. If I get in, I'm sitting in for a long train ride, then I do two earbuds, and I kind of like huddle up and keep my situational awareness. But normally, just one earbud because I want to hear what's happening. So if it works better for transparency mode, that's a big win. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, the transparency mode I've tested. I didn't test the like adapted or whatever transparency mode. I mean, it works pretty much the same as the Pixel Buds Pro's transparency mode, which is pretty effective. I can't tell you that there's a huge difference between the two when it comes to their noise cancellation and their noise transparency modes. I think that I was at like a very noisy street festival recently. Like it was the downtown Jersey City street festival. There's very loud music playing. That's one of those situations where you would appreciate a feature like the one that we just talked about. But I was around friends, so you wouldn't, like it's difficult for me to guess like what situations this would be useful in other than the subway scenario.
I feel like that's just being able to automatically do it is kind of the thing you want. So that's great. I'm glad Apple's doing that. I will say it's funny that my Beats Fit Pro right now, I love them so much. I've been using them like daily multiple times since I bought them like late last year, right when they came out. The like seal between the wingtip and the bud just peeled off last week. Like they knew headphones were coming. They're like, sorry, bruh. I guess you got to get new ones. No, I'm gonna crazy glue those suckers. I'm not gonna move on.
Don't crazy glue your ear.
Not my ear, but certainly
just make sure it dries before you put it back in.
Oh, absolutely. Although that's true technology integration, right? Just you will always have an earbud on. Kind of
I'll say our live stream producer Julio says he uses his AirPods Pro to suppress noise when his neighbors mow the lawn. That's a good I don't think a lot about environmental
I use it when I mow the lawn, like just
look at that.
And I don't even have like a
what is a lawn?
What is a lawn? What is grass? I mean, the lawn shouldn't exist. I should just have wildflowers on my front yard. I wish I could just do that. But my lawnmower is not super loud. But when I'm doing stuff outside, certainly leaf blower stuff, those things suck and they're really loud. So using these things have been super helpful, even though I'm not in a city. Anything else you guys want to mention about this or the repairability of the iPhone 14 Pro? Because we can move on. We've got a lot of news this week.
Just the price of the AirPods Pro 2 is $249, $250. And so same price as the last generation?
Same price as the last gen. The Beats Fit Pro came in at like $200. So that's also why I'm like, it is weird what is happening there, right? Is the Beats folks are completely separate from the AirPods and other audio engineering folks? Or are they just like, how does that work? How does that like workplace culture work? Like the Beats folks, okay, they get the new chips, they get like some new stuff over time, but they have to design their own speakers and drivers and everything. So it's all
Yeah, who knows with Beats anymore. I also did want to flag the case now, the charging case for the AirPods Pro 2022 have their own speakers on board. They have a lanyard loop, but no lanyard is included when you buy the thing.
Well, you're going to get a cute one from a vending machine probably, right?
Yeah, for sure. Meantime, Mark Dell, one of our live stream viewers, asks, is Engadget going to do a rundown of the top lanyards for the AirPods Pro 2022? I say you tell us if you want us to. I don't know.
Literally whatever you find. Like that's how lanyards
just
work.
whatever lanyard you want.
Whatever junk you find anywhere.
I did use the U1 chip in the case, which is an ultra wideband chip, and that allows for very precise location via Find My in your iPhone. I did try that feature out. Like I had a video producer hide the AirPods Pro in an office for me, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna turn on Find My to look for that, and it really, I found it in 5 seconds flat.
Did it work as well as AirTags? Like, does it give you the directional arrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So it was I was very impressed. So I mean, you're never gonna lose your AirPods. Hopefully, if you get these, I don't know.
Now just put that on the freaking Apple TV remote. Like put the freaking AirTags on the remote. I keep losing it. Okay, good to hear that the AirPods Pro 2 are cool. And hey, good news for the iPhone 14 if you buy it for somebody. If it breaks, like maybe it'll be easier to repair. That's a good thing for everybody. Let's move on. Oh, let's get a clean end to the segment. Okay, I see you, Ben. Okay. Go check out our review of the AirPods Pro 2 and check out all of Sherlin's reviews. She's been driving herself crazy reviewing all this Apple stuff. We've got one more thing we'll mention in what you're working on, but for now, let's move on to some other news. This was a pretty big week for NVIDIA. This was NVIDIA's GTC event where they typically show off all their new technology, but this was also the week they decided to show off their new 4000 series cards, the 4090, the RTX 4090, which is going to be $1,600, and the RTX 4080. And confusingly, there are two of those. There's a $900 one with 12 gigabytes of RAM and a $1,200 one with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Very curious about that distinction and why they're both called 4080, and we'll dive into it. But hey, new GPUs, it is a weird thing to see from NVIDIA right now because it feels like the 3000 series cards just got here, or at least we just learned about the TI versions, which are slightly faster. It feels like we're still recovering from the crazy like crypto mining wave that drove GPU prices way up. That has slowed down. The prices are back to normal. Stock is out there. But we did hear NVIDIA during this event, I was hearing some Q&As with Jensen Huang, and he said, he admitted they made too many 3000 series cards. That was a big issue for them. Wow. So my question is now, okay, people have wanted 3000 series cards forever. These cards are here now. They're more expensive. They get you more. They could do a lot more. They're certainly better with ray tracing and better for faster frame rates in general. My question is, does anybody actually need these? Sam, I know you're a fellow PC enthusiast. What are you thinking about these cards? Do you want just full unfettered 4K ray tracing and no compromise, right? Is that what you're aiming for? Or?
Yeah, it's so hard because the GPU market has been on such a roller coaster because for a long time you couldn't get any, and then just recently there's very available, you can get them for retail prices, and then as soon as that happens, now there's a new generation of cards to worry about. And I think it's really on a certain level, it really brings into questions you have to figure out what kind of gamer you are, because especially with the new 4000 series cards, one of the big advantages is significantly better ray tracing performance. I said upwards of 100%, or twice the ray tracing performance compared to last generation. Yeah, but you got to factor in, it's do the games that I play actually benefit from ray tracing? Because if you're playing Counter-Strike, you're not going to see anything. But so it really depends on what kind of games you're playing. And then on top of that, you mentioned there's the 4080 16 gig and the 4080 12 gig. And there's been some heated discussion online about that because
they're very different cards.
Exactly. So I have the specs right here. And so the 4090 has 16,000 CUDA cores. The 4080 16 gig has 9,700 CUDA cores, and the 4080 12 gig has 7,600 CUDA cores. So that's actually a pretty big difference. Yeah. In terms of it's not just the VRAM that's different on these cards, and so you really have to
And also,
so it's
like smaller memory bandwidth too. I'm seeing on the full specs, 192-bit on the 4080 12 gigabit or 12 gigabyte, 256-bit on the 4080 16 gigabyte.
Right.
These are different cards.
Very different cards. And now there's some speculation. It's like, oh, is the 4080 12 gig, was that really just like a 4070 or even like a 4060 that they kind of, rebranded or renamed so that it fits in better with this lineup? And like we were talking about this yesterday. It's like, oh, they could have called like the 4080 16 gig, the 4080 Ti, but that would also throw off, NVIDIA's traditional naming scheme of saving the Ti versions for like a mid-cycle refresh.
Yeah, for a couple of years from now, yeah.
And so it's all very interesting, and then you just have the pricing, and it's more complicated than ever to like think about if you want to upgrade or not.
It's so weird too, and especially because, first of all, let me put this out there for people who aren't following this market. Typically, the 70 cards are like the ones that a lot of enthusiasts aim for because they
the mainstream choice. Yep.
Well, I would say so. Mainstream is like typically the 60 series, right? Like if you just want like good gameplay, you'll get a 60 series card and some sort of thing. If you're an enthusiast who cares about PC gaming, most people just aim for the 70 cards and maybe overclock, and maybe like try to eke out more performance from that, because the 80s are usually such a huge price jump, like almost twice as much or a significant amount typically. Now, there is no 4070. Maybe there likely will be down the line, but it does seem like this price gulf and this spec difference does feel like they're two separate cards, and NVIDIA's just trying to justify the much much higher price at this point. Because
and there was also a Q&A with media yesterday, and so in the Q&A, the Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, was saying, oh, the prices of the times of falling GPU prices are a thing of the past.
Yeah,
which is kind of scary for people who like fancy new hardware, because they're just saying it's like, oh, the prices for the flagship stuff are just going to keep going up from now until forever.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely a little concerning. But there is, some, background to this, because apparently TSMC is charging a little bit more for their wafer production. So obviously that's getting passed on to the consumer, which sucks, but that's business, I guess.
And this is a new process too, right? Like an entirely new, smaller process for them. So
yeah, it's supposedly on TSMC's 4 nanometer process, but there is, I think it's only like a half generation jump up from the 5 nanometer process they were using before. But yeah.
My main question here is like, who needs these? If you're somebody right now, if you've been like holding off on the GPU market and you just didn't jump in, it kind of depends where you are, right? Like, I don't think these are worthwhile upgrades from the 3000 cards. Maybe if you're stuck with a 2000 or a 1000, series card, especially if you stuck with the GTX like 1070 or 1080 for several years now, then yeah, maybe you just want to go all the way as much as you can. But I also expect we're going to see some pretty good deals on the 3000 series cards left. The 3070 is still a killer card. The 3080 is going to take a huge price jump or price dip because of this thing. I haven't seen things get reflected yet, but I don't know. If you're going to spend that money, maybe it does make more sense to go for the $900 4080 rather than spending $500 or $600 on a 3080. If it ever gets to that price. This is just a weird point. Yeah.
My desktop at home, I'm currently using a 2080, and I'm right on that edge of like, should I upgrade? Should I not? And like, I'm almost like at a point where it's like, maybe I try to hold out for like the mid-cycle refresh, just because it's like, I wasn't able to get a new GPU during the pandemic, and like now that I can get a 3000 series card, like I'm either going to wait for the prices on those to fall, or see how everything else shakes out. Especially, once we get a chance to actually test these things and see what the actual performance is like.
It feels like we're hitting the plateau, right, of PC gaming performance. It's like, when it comes to like traditional rasterized games, getting fast frame rates, super easy with most games these days. It's when you enable things like ray tracing and other fun effects where, you need a lot more processing power. And at the end of the day, ray tracing just looks very nice, but it's not going to functionally make your gaming better, I guess. So this is should we be caring so much about these graphics? Look at Nintendo and the Switch and like how much they've been able to eke out of a freaking 5-year-old mobile, CPU. It seems like we're in a weird place, and I don't know if people are actually going to jump on these cards as much as the last bit. Sherlyn, does any of this mean anything to you? I mean, you follow the chip industry, but this is like high-end gaming nerd stuff. And
well,
yeah,
you know when you said who needs to get these, I was thinking Julio, because our live stream producer just earlier today was like having some issues with like graphics card struggles, right? And so I was like, okay, so, and I'm pretty sure Julio uses a fairly recent model of the 3000 series probably. Julio, correct me if
Julio
I'm wrong.
has a 3080 Ti, yeah,
right, a 3080 Ti. So like. Yeah, that one's already a pretty serious, beefy graphics card, and probably someone with Julio's workflow, where he's managing several different video streams and then running graphics and putting that all out to YouTube at once, could probably, benefit from getting a new graphics card, one of the 4000 series. But you're right that like, beyond these very intensive workloads that, Julio does for work, like if you're a YouTube streamer and you're playing like games while streaming your own feed, I guess, to Twitch or whatever, probably, right? I don't know how much
could be
YouTube
useful,
do
but
that.
then you're almost like CPU bound, right? And then like you've got other things to deal with. And if you're a real streamer, you're gonna have two computers, and you're gonna game on one and pipe that video into the other one and have the other one be your broadcast computer. So, I don't fully know. I guess this stuff like, hey, if you have a 120 hertz monitor, or more, certainly more, if you have a 360 hertz, or they're going to get faster and faster, and you want to like pump all those frames in, then sure, these are going to help. And NVIDIA also talked about something else that is kind of interesting. They announced DLSS 3, which is the third version of their like, I forget, super sampling.
Yep.
Yeah, they're super sampling tech. But previously, DLSS was all about saying like, hey, we will render these frames at 1080p, and we will use our AI tools and our AI processors to spit out a much higher quality, maybe like a 4K level image by kind of like estimating what that increased resolution would look like. DLSS 3 is interesting because they're just straight up frame interpolating. Like they are just, rather than just like making the edges and things look better, they're adding whole new frames of gameplay in there, which starts to sound like the motion smoothing stuff we don't like in TVs. We don't like fake frames. So, but they're talking about that as a way to get frame rates up while you're enabling ray tracing gameplay. And they showed off like some cool things, like some games actually took a big jump. They showed off Cyberpunk, and when they enabled all this stuff, like frame rates jumped quite a bit. So that could be useful, I guess. Is it worth the cost of I don't know, near $1,000 just for that? Especially if you have a 3080? That I don't know. So we're kind of at a crossroads. I'm looking forward to testing these cards. Unfortunately, I don't think we will be testing the 4090. NVIDIA, no matter how much I beg, we rarely get the 90 series cards. But hopefully I'm aiming to at least get the two 4080s and do some good benchmarking between them to get a sense of like how those things perform. But hey guys, like if you have a 3000 series card, just stick with it. Love what you've got. That's the main
Love
thing.
the one you have.
Love the one you have. People were talking about, I saw Daniel Diaz in our chat room mention like they saw a deal saying an RTX 3070 combined with a 27-inch Quad HD 165 hertz monitor for $600
On Newegg.
That's a great deal.
Yeah.
Dude, that stuff like that. I am a very pragmatic and cheap buyer when it comes to tech. So
Love
stuff
what
like
you
that,
can get.
love what you can get. Learn to like eke out the most performance of these things, because at the high end you are paying for NVIDIA's technology test bed basically, because most games aren't going to take advantage of this stuff immediately. Those 30 series cards are going to drop in price, and that's going to be a big deal. Another thing is they announced Portal's they did a mod for Portal to bring RTX ray tracing to Portal, and that looks pretty cool. Did you guys see the videos of that?
Sorry, I was in Apple land.
No, I was watching the trailer, and then my wife heard the Portal music, and she's like, "Wait, there's Portal news," and she
hear the beats.
Got like really excited. Yeah.
No, well, the kick is still a lie, but I guess these frames are not a lie. This realistic lighting is not a lie. That's what's happening. It's Portal with like the edges of the portals reflect off the environment. Surfaces are reflective. It just looks really nice, and it shows like, if you look at the trailer for this thing, it shows off like the sort of difference just having more realistic lighting makes for a game. It gives more depth to the image. I played a bit of the Quake 2 RTX thing, and even that like old game looked pretty great once you started adding some realistic lighting. So these things do show like what the difference is with RTX. It's just like not world changing. It's more like it's the sort of way like HDR makes things look a little nicer in movies and games too. So I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens. I'm not super enthusiastic about these cards, but I am enthusiastic about the price drops that are clearly coming. So if you've been waiting, folks, now's the time to get a 3000 series card. Cool. I think we can end here.
Yes. Okay. So we got some time for Q&A. Everybody.
Yay!
Chat, this is the time to talk directly to us. We're going to be talking directly to you, and I have a bunch of questions and comments that already logged from earlier. First thing is that Ruindig says, is Sam wearing Sony's InZone headphones?
Sam said yes.
I am, yeah. I've been testing them out because, Sony making like a concerted effort to be like a gaming hardware brand is like kind of interesting, considering that like this is Sony Electronics, not Sony Computer Entertainment. And so that's why people are like, oh, the designs look kind of funky. Ben was like making fun of them, and it's like they're supposed to look like they're tied to the PS5, and so that's why they have that like spacey, like almost Alienware look.
They're still supposed to be super comfy too, right? Are they comfy?
They are very comfy. Yeah. Oh yeah, they're very comfy, and they use a similar ANC tech as you get in like the really fancy Sony wireless headphones. And so I've actually been really enjoying having that, like to block out like construction noise or stuff like that. And so it's really nice to have like a really good like ANC on what should be gaming headphones, which don't always get like the most attention when it comes to stuff like that.
I didn't like the ones that launched with the PlayStation 5 too much. Like they were fine, but
those were your standard oh, we must make headphones that go with the console.
They're like $100 and they're fine. Yeah.
Right.
They do look a little goofy. Mark Dell said that looks like you're turning into a Cyberman. Very on brand for Brit in America, Mark Dell. And then when we were talking about the iPhone 14, iPhone 14 Pro, and the Dynamic Island, people were making up other possible names. Dude named Charlie said Dynamic Floater. Someone else said Dynamic Banana Boat. Rob Langley said Changeable Peninsula. I'm sorry, but that's wrong. A peninsula is not an island. It's surrounded on three sides by water. I actually just looked it up. Peninsula comes from the Latin word pain insula, which means almost an island.
Almost.
Which means, Rob, you're almost right. Try instead multifaceted archipelago.
The original Notch is a peninsula. There you go.
True. It is surrounded on all sides by the rest of the screen.
Before we saw the Dynamic Island, by the way, like Eye Hole would have been a great one for just the
Eye Hole. Oh, amazing.
Oh, gross though.
Yeah, I know.
Amar Kalburgi says they're perfectly happy with their $500 3070. Everybody was talking about what they got their graphics card for when we were talking about graphics.
Get the deals, folks.
Yeah. Yes. And so you shouted out Daniel Diaz's great deal on Newegg. Speaking of which, Daniel Diaz, can you send us an email with your current stream watching setup? Can you maybe take a picture or something of the lengths that you're going to watch the Engadget live stream, even when infrastructure in Puerto Rico is so messed up? Because I find that really impressive. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. But please
send that to
prioritize your own
podcast.
safety.
Yes, send that to podcast@engadget.com.
Send us questions, people. Everybody.
Everybody send us questions, especially interesting use cases. Yeah, like a few months ago, I was talking with a family member. They wanted to live the RV life, and they asked me how do we best live the RV life? So if you have interesting questions, especially from maybe family members or interesting use cases, send us that. I think that would be super interesting.
Did they we talked about that one on the show, didn't we?
Yeah, we talked about that one on the show.
Did they ever reply to you, or?
So they are getting ready to actually move into the RV now. It took a little while to get the house cleaned out, and now they're I think they finally sold it, so they're getting ready to actually outfit themselves with that stuff. And so we're going to check back in, and I'm going to make sure they're properly outfitted.
That's cool. That's the dream. Just true living on the road, and especially
the dream is doing that with an EV. So you know that you aren't
EV and some solar panels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
EV and some solar
Getting
panels, so
there.
you know that you're seeing America, but you're making sure that other people can enjoy it in the future.
We
Wes
gotta-
Jackson
Yep.
says that they got a 3080 Ti for about 750 a few
Oh
weeks
man,
ago.
that's
That's
so
a good deal.
That's a good
Excellent.
deal.
Beautiful. And then we were
Ardell
also
says you just got the Unreal Air a few weeks ago, and anyone here ever messed with those? Yes, we have actually. We played with the new. I think Richard Lai got on a set recently.
I
Dev, you
the
might have played
new
with them,
set.
yeah.
I think that
That's
is
right.
the Air. It's the new set.
Okay.
They're launching in the US soon. I wish I could use these things better because they have to go over my glasses, but hey, they're really cool. It's a cool idea. I just didn't get a chance to use the originals. What was it? The last in Rails. No, I tried the Airs and the new one's the Lights. I have to double check, but they're launching in the US soon. It's a cool idea. I'm not fully sold on those things yet. Yeah. At some point we should talk about more EV stuff and car stuff because I somehow got myself back into a normal gas car, which sucks, but
Oh.
whatever. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So when you said that you are no longer a minivan owner, is that because you finally got rid of your partial EV?
My plug-in hybrid Pacifica. Go check out my piece on that Engadget because that's from like March or February. But like,
So that
frickin'
was
Chrysler,
a manufacturing issue, wasn't it?
that's a manufacturing issue, and hopefully like they will give us some sort of payback at some point because of that. But yeah, I don't want to drive a car that could potentially explode with my kids in it anymore. You know, so big
Kids.
It's big
plural,
no.
Once again.
Kids, but also my family, my wife, you know, even if it
Yeah.
was just us in the car. Exploding car, batteries on EVs, kind of a big deal. So I think we will do an episode diving into a lot of that stuff at some point because at least the first gen of EVs and some of the plug-in hybrids, like they've all had recalls. The battery issues from LG Chem have been kind of everywhere. They're legendary. So be careful if you're buying a used plug-in hybrid. I cannot wait for that new Volvo though. I'm getting a gas XC90 and then maybe in several years we'll go up to the EV one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Buddy305 Love said, now that Apple is eSIM only, will carriers give you issues if you want to swap to a different phone for a few weeks and then back? So the main issue you will have is you have to convert. I mean, if you swap to a different phone and if that different phone doesn't have an eSIM slot or eSIM support, then yeah, you're going to have to go to your carrier to get a physical card, get your line provision on that card again, and then use that phone and then convert back to Apple
So easy.
when you're ready to. Yeah,
It's
it's not meant
it's
for you
so
to
easy.
switch back. It's a way to get you back into that walled garden, right? It's a way to.
Yeah.
It's another way to like lock you into the ecosystem for
I hate
now.
it.
And
I hate it.
yeah, I hate it.
The teardown of the iPhone 14 Pro revealed nothing in the SIM card area. Nothing.
Space
Literally
where
nothing.
they could have done something,
At
but
least
then they
leave it in the
decided not
Pro
to.
phone. Leave it
Yeah.
in the Pro phone for people who could travel or something. Oh my God.
Julio points out something that a lot of people have already mentioned, which is that this is easy money for carriers, an $80 activation fee for a SIM card. Yeah, I mean, they charge you for anything, right? The carriers. So
Or like when you go internationally, you're just stuck using
Yep.
their international plan. So,
yeah, their plan.
so
Until that world that we dreamed of where you can buy buckets of data comes along. Yeah, right now we're stuck.
All right, can
Okay,
we
so-
move on?
Yeah, I actually had a quick question though. So I got my most recent iPhone. This is an SE2 with a SIM slot.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to be going to Mexico next month. So my phone isn't locked. Could I have both my SIM in and an eSIM for
Technically,
Mexico data?
you should put your phone on the eSIM. You should put your line on the eSIM, and then you're free to like use a SIM card wherever. That is the ideal. That's the freedom you want. Yeah.
Okay. And I do have that freedom because I did not get my phone through Verizon. So
Yeah. So you still have to call the carrier to like say, hey, make this an eSIM, and then in Mexico you can throw in whatever you want there.
cool. Yeah. And I mean, I could activate something like just before I leave for Mexico too, because I
Yep.
have seen that you can just like buy
Yeah.
that stuff online.
Look at your international plans too. This is true for everybody. Look at what your carrier offers, but
Yeah.
usually it's cheaper just to go local and do
Yeah.
that.
No, the international plan is not good.
Sucks. Yeah. Okay. I think we're good to move on. We've got a bunch of news to clear through, folks.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to some other news. And there's a bunch of hacks going on, specifically Grand Theft Auto 6. I don't know if you guys were following this, but over the weekend, I just woke up and saw like there was massive leak, 90 videos, source code from Grand Theft Auto 6 just out there. And for those who don't know, like Rockstar typically keeps this stuff all close to the vest. Like they don't typically reveal a lot of this stuff. The only stuff we've heard about this game so far is from reporting from Jason Schreier at Bloomberg. So to have videos out there and like a full sense of what this game is just pretty wild. The story we're hearing now, and this hasn't been super confirmed, but it likely was by the same hacker who accomplished the massive Uber hack last week. And let me see here, and that group is Lapsus $. I don't know how do you read that? Lapsus $. But both of these things, the GTA 6 in particular is interesting because it's like there were also rumors that they were trying to work with Rockstar to maybe get paid to return some of the stuff, which is like, oh, you're just getting to extortion territory now. You want to go straight to jail. Thoughts on this? And we will not be showing this footage. It is out there, but respectfully, like, yeah, we don't want to keep broadcasting this stuff. I took a look at like a couple seconds just to see like what it looked like. It looks like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
So I just have one thing to say. I posit that the name is pronounced Lapsus Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. Sure.
Anyway,
Lapsus cash.
Thank you.
Lapsus $. Yeah.
I think the sad thing is I just feel bad for the developers because this is really, really early footage. And so some of the people who like, aren't really in the game industry, they see early development footage is like, oh, this game looks like crap. And then the developers have to hear this and it's like, well, GTA 6 is doomed. And it's like, y'all, this is like early footage. The textures aren't finished. Like the
Nothing
graphics aren't finished.
Reportedly,
and so
it's from like a 2019 build, and this game is still like 2 years away. So
right. Yeah, there's no announcement. There's like no release date, not even like a release window for this game. And so like anything that you're seeing here is like you can't really take it too seriously. And so I feel bad because it really bums out. You hear stories about the developers like, it really bums them out that like people are seeing a game that isn't really representative of what their final product is going to be. And so it just sucks on that end.
There was a good trend of developers kind of showing off early hardware of their own games in like solidarity for this. So specifically, I really liked the folks behind Control were showing off like a really early build of that game and how rough that looked and how simplistic, but also if you squint, you could kind of see where that game was going and what they were aiming for. And that's how development works. Like games don't really take shape until the very end, like once all the art assets and everything are done. It does make me sad about the gamer culture, or the gamers who just want to consume and like criticize everything and have no idea what's really happening. Yeah.
I've been seeing memes all over Reddit about this, and one of the more repeated ones is on the left you have GTA 6 leak haters complaining that it doesn't look good, and then on the right you have GTA 6 leak fans or something going, well, at least it's in the works. There's always two ways to see it.
Yeah, sure.
I think this is a story of like, the people who are gonna hate are just gonna hate, and for now we know what to expect.
I would say if you're listening to this and you saw that footage, because it is everywhere, and you feel disappointed by it and you want to know like how games are made, I want to shout out the work by the No Clip team, the No Clip documentary team, who does great work doing behind the scenes coverage of game stuff. They have a Patreon and stuff. Like I am really happy to support them because those folks have been making gaming videos and gaming like journalism for years, for over a decade at this point. So check out No Clip. They're on YouTube, and you could get some really good behind the scenes action. The stuff they did around the Dishonored games I thought was like really fascinating. That's one of my favorite series right now. Anything else you guys want to add about this thing, this particular hack? It sucks. Don't judge
There was another leak, another exploit by Lapsus Cha-ching, right?
I mean, the Uber thing was last week, but what we're hearing is like, the revelation that was Lapsus Cha-ching was likely that was more recent. And that was also the group behind Microsoft and T-Mobile's recent attacks. And the Uber thing is kind of weird because they basically got fully inside Uber's internal systems and like put up like an expletive web page for all Uber employees when they tried to browse their like little intranet, and they got into their Slack and stuff, and it was it's bad. Not great.
My favorite thing that I saw on the internet after that was like Uber posting job postings for security engineers in New York, Georgia, whatever. Like they were just like immediately hiring security engineers.
Oh crap! Our security. Yeah. What happened apparently, from what I've read, is that the contractor that was hacked, they had two-factor authentication. They had a check-in. They received a thing and just accepted it.
Oh wait.
The folks, if you have two-factor, if you're using like we use one platform that you have to click approve when you try to log into our sites, and if you're getting weird things, don't click approve.
Yeah.
Tell your IT department.
Don't
like, come on.
it.
The IT guy in me is like just cringing at all this stuff, because so many of these hacks are just simple things that people could do. This is not like new technology. This is nothing new. It's just social engineering and finding all the little holes you can get. So anyway, we will see more details from the GTA 6 hack at some point, and the Uber hack. Like, that story is not done. Let's move on to some like quick other stories. I wrote up the Windows 11 2022 review. Let me just see here. Windows 11's 2022 update just landed this week. I see I linked the wrong page here, so I will get the right link there. But this is a really quick update. We're about a year after the launch of Windows 11. And typically, like, this is when you get like major new features and stuff. This particular update really is just about rebuilding the Windows update system. So it's an update to get more updates, if that's at all confusing. There are some new things coming eventually, which actually didn't launch this week. In October, you'll get tabs on the File Explorer. You'll get some other new types of features. The Clipchamp video editor is in there. Microsoft bought them last year, but no major changes. Just kind of like a, hey, Windows 11 is still going strong, and this update is going to make like your Windows updates easier. They're going to be smaller, and they're going to be easier to install down the line. And Microsoft also wants to add bigger features into Windows updates rather than the annual like major updates for things. So that's a good thing for Windows fans. You're going to get a little more start menu customization. You're going to be able to like add more pins or more personalized apps, or more like recommendations for apps. So that's cool. But beyond that, it's still Windows 11. How are you guys feeling about this OS? Like, Sherlyn, have you ever, I don't even think you've had to live with Windows 11 much, have you?
I have used it on some, I believe my current laptop uses Windows 11. Maybe not the latest version of Windows 11.
Your work laptop or another one?
No, the one that I use for work. It's not the work laptop is a Mac. Ugh. But the thing about the tabs in File Explorer, right? We've heard about that for a while now. So, I feel like that's not super news.
I mean, it hasn't been here. So the way Windows works is we typically hear about features as they're rolling out to insiders and preview builds and things like that. Yeah. But to general users, they're not here. So I've been running File Explorer tabs for a while. I really like them, just because I tend to have a lot of Explorer windows. I'm moving stuff all around. You can still do that, but the tabs help to like consolidate things a little bit. But yeah, it's nice. Nothing groundbreaking. This is the thing where if you were a Windows 10 user who was like waiting to update before Microsoft like got a lot of the bugs ironed out, I feel like now is a good time to make that jump. So that's a good thing.
This is like, it feels like the refinement pass of like, following up from the original release last year.
It is funny.
I also,
I
I saw they're improving the accuracy of like general Windows 11 search, which I'll be very curious to see how that, because it was like Windows 11 search is just like so hit or miss.
Really?
So I'll be interested to see if that how much that changes things. And it's like sad for me because like I can't upgrade my desktop because I'm using an older Intel chip, and so I have no like realistic upgrade path.
How old is your chip?
It's a 7th gen Intel, so
you could still do an ISO install. You could still just
I could.
Yeah.
It's just that means I gotta like take my whole computer offline for a while, and I don't really want to do it.
It's not worth it. Like, hey folks, if you like Windows 10 right now and you're good, your system is good, just stick with that for a while. There are some cool new features coming to Windows 11 for gamers, like there's a new controller bar to make it easier to move things around, and you can also like run games windowed and still have HDR, auto HDR, and like variable refresh rates going. So that's kind of cool. Typically you have to like full screen for that. So those are cool things. But if you're good with Windows 10, you're fine. Microsoft is still going to support it for several years. So we're good for a while. I just want to shout that thing out. Sherlyn, you were excited about this new cheap
Wow,
Chromecast, right?
wow. With the words there. I mean, but it is true. This is a new
it's the
Chromecast.
cheapo Chromecast, yeah.
New Chromecast. According to Julio, was like El Cheapo. Okay. It's $30. It's the Chromecast with Google TV, but HD. So the Chromecast with Google TV, when Google launched it, I want to say last year, 2 years ago, with the new interface and everything, that was 4K. I believe it's sold for closer to $50. And this time you're getting a $30 version, which, it seems like just really the main difference here is that it's like a lower res and it's cheaper. But you have to think about like the households across the world. Not everyone's on a 4K TV.
No, sure.
And a device like a Chromecast is designed for someone who's not already on a smart TV. It's designed to like turn your older monitors maybe, right, into something that you can use for, your security camera streams or
this one has the remote too, right? So you're
right,
not
exactly.
just casting from your phone. Like
exactly.
It's actually the exact same design as the previous one, like same remote, same dongle, everything.
Yeah, cool. Everything is everything's the same except for the 4K and some Dolby Atmos support missing from the HD version. And to kind of visibly tell them apart, there's like some etching on the device itself, so you can see 4K or HD, whatever. And there's no different color options, right? The HD version only comes in what they call snow, which is like white, and then with the 4K version you get pink and blue versions as well. So for me, this is cool. More like we're returning to the original Chromecast idea. The concept of this dongle that turns any TV into a smart TV for cheap, right? The original Chromecast retailed for $35. This is cheaper than that, and it does more. So for me, like, I just thought that was interesting. Also, I just love Chromecast, so
Chromecast is cool. It's cool when it actually works. What's weird is that this one is 1080p, but also supports HDR.
Yeah.
There are no 1080p HDR.
It's kind of weird. Yeah.
That is weird. Maybe it's just like the chip level, like the chip they scaled down for this thing, just kind of had HDR and they just didn't turn it off. I don't know. It is. I always liked having a Chromebook or a really cheap Roku to take to like hotels when I traveled, and you go to Airbnbs and stuff. Like you have an easy way to access all your content.
Right.
So that seems cool. And yeah, a lot of people still have 1080p TVs. I will say though, like if you need a Chromecast and you have a 1080p TV and you plan to upgrade your TV eventually, like maybe just get the 4K one. Maybe just like, I don't know, like eventually you may want to be able to use this on a 4K set or do more with it, but it's cool that this exists. Roku has had super cheap, versions of their streaming boxes around for a while. So this is mainly competing with that.
Declan Flynn in the chat says, this is the Pixel 6a of Chromecasts, which, good point.
That's not inaccurate. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, a very good analogy.
Okay. Cheap Chromecast. It is out. Good to see there. Would you guys would you pay $350 for a cloud gaming handheld from Logitech? $350. That is the price of a Nintendo Switch Pro. A Switch OLED, not a Switch Pro. $350.
I was so cheap. I only paid $200 for my Switch second gen. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen this device leaked quite a bit, but basically it is a little handheld. It looks like a Switch, developed together by Logitech and Tencent, which is interesting too, which makes me think like it's really more meant for like, okay, in China and other countries where maybe cloud gaming is more of a thing. But yeah, this thing will be able to directly hook into GeForce Now. You'll be able to use your Steam if you have a Steam PC. Gaming PC, you could stream locally from within your home to it. It's cool. 1080p up to 60 frames per second. It's a 7-inch touchscreen. It's a.
I'm sorry. Did you say 16?
60.
Okay, I was like, that's very low.
16.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
That's very low. It is basically a little Android thing. I would compare this to maybe the Steam Deck, but also the Switch itself, right? The Steam Deck. What is the cheapest one? It's like
450.
450, right? What are you doing, Logitech? When I heard about this thing, it was like, maybe if it's $200, sure, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you got to give me more for the money, because this thing only plays Steam games. So like, not only do you have to factor in like the cost of like your monthly like Xbox Game Pass Ultimate sub or like Stadia or whatever, it's like you always need a wireless connection. Yeah. And so like you either like have to tether or like, have some sort of Wi-Fi available. And so this really brings into the question. It's like, has cloud gaming reached a point where people are so comfortable with cloud gaming that they're okay getting a thing that cannot play games locally at all? And that's a point where I'm not quite there yet.
It depends on where you live, or like if you live in a home, for kids too, like, okay, a cloud gaming thing where they can't screw up the game cartridges or something, right?
Yeah.
But it has to be cheaper. It has to be like $200 bucks. When the Steam Deck, which admittedly is a lot bigger, that is a huge device. And this, I think one benefit of this thing is that it's supposed to be pretty light. It's slightly heavier than the Switch. It's 463 grams. The Switch is 398 grams. The Steam Deck that's about like less than a pound for both of these things. The Steam Deck is straight up 1.5 pounds. So it's a big boy. It's a big honking thing, but it runs games locally. It has power locally. You can both stream games and play games like right from the system if you're not online. So I don't know what Logitech is doing here, or at least this.
Well, and the other thing is like,
wrong.
what are you gonna do if you take this thing on a plane? Are you like, is plane Wi-Fi gonna be able to like?
No, not at all.
For your cloud gaming, no. And so
can you download games? You can't download games.
From what it looks like, it has a Snapdragon 720G, has 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of storage with expandable stuff. I don't believe you can play. Are they even allowing like Android games to play on this thing locally?
I wasn't clear on that, but like it's like
I don't see good GPU stuff here, so probably not.
So really low, like not great spec handheld console for $350, and then if you want to take it on the plane, you really have to play games in the clouds.
No, you
get it?
This is not a plane. This is not a plane
clouds.
system.
Get it?
Clouds.
Oh,
What's
God.
also funny is that you can hack your Switch to play cloud games too, which I have an old Switch here since I upgraded to the OLED like a dum-dum, which I'm just gonna mess with at some point. I like Logitech. I like Logitech jumping into new things, and this is a unique idea. But the goal now is to make like a little device that can do everything, right? And Nintendo started that. There are a lot of like cheap little handhelds from China which can play all sorts of emulated games, and the Steam Deck is like really pushing it forward. This is like what are we doing? I don't know what in this hardware makes it cost $350. We shall see. There's more. Any more thoughts here, Sherlyn? Like, would you rather you have a Switch?
Yeah.
Would you at all be intrigued with this? Or like, you can cloud game on your Switch with some games. Like some AAA games can be played over the cloud. Have you tried that yet?
Nope. I think I'd be more curious about the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck seems more like the device I should get if I were to go that way.
I would love to see you hold a Steam Deck. Yes.
I know. I hear it's not. Yeah. Jess and I were talking. I want to know. You know what I want is that cranky one.
The crank one, the Playdate. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have an order for the Playdate. I don't know where it is, but I do want to touch the crank.
Yeah.
It should be fun. I want to play games with the crank.
It's cute.
It's very cute. Final quick story. Twitch is banning major gambling websites in October. And this is a whole long story that came about after one Twitch user basically admitted to scamming up to over $200,000 from followers and friends to feed his online gambling addiction. So it's a whole thing. Some of the streamers, including Pokimane and Devin Nash, basically said like they got to do something about this. They threatened to boycott on Christmas week if Twitch doesn't ban gambling streams and sponsorship. So the company has decided to deal with that. How do you guys feel about Twitch and gambling?
I mean, I think this is a kind of necessary move that they have to make because the gambling thing has been rampant on Twitch for a long time.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, they used to do like the gambling skins for like CS:GO gun skins and stuff like that. And so they just got to crack down on just like it was kind of like a wild, wild west, like free for all. And so I think they were actually pretty specific about certain sites that are being banned. And they said like, hey, we're going to revisit this list in the future in case like more, situations pop up. And so it's like, Twitch has always, especially Twitch has had like a bad reputation for a long time about like just rules being implemented but not being enforced. And so it's good to see them take a little bit of action in order to like, hey, we're putting our foot down. This stuff was getting out of control. There's got to be a limit somewhere.
And it's potentially dangerous for people too. Like if you get really into this stuff, you can lose a lot of money. It can cause you to do crazy things.
Right. And people were donating money so they could see people spend money. And it's like you don't know what these people's financial situations are like and all that.
It's just rough. Gambling for entertainment. I don't quite know about that. The sites. Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of the way things are headed, right? Because gambling apps and gambling like being legal now, the increasing legality of gambling everywhere is going to make it a big thing. So I think we're seeing the first of like tech streaming companies or other such like Yahoo has like a gambling app I think coming up, right? Our parent company. So I think people see the potential to make a lot of money from this, and therefore also people see potentially losing a lot of money from this, and they're kind of worried. And I would love to see how other streaming services like maybe YouTube or something like that react to this in future, because it's gonna happen. We're just bracing for it.
It's like, what is the motivation for people to stream this stuff? Like, ultimately not a great thing. And if you gather a big Twitch audience or YouTube gaming audience or something, and it could be destructive to you or to your fans or people donating money. So anyway, the sites being banned include some of the most well-known ones like Stake.com, Rollbit, Duelbits, and Rubit.com. I've never heard of these sites.
I mean, neither. Yeah.
I think some of these sites are also crypto gambling sites as
great.
well.
Love it.
Oh, so the best parts of the internet all coming together. Fantastic.
Fantastic. It is funny. I did see some criticism here that Twitch was basically super fast to react to this, whereas Twitch has a lot of other issues around abuse and audience abuse against creators and creators of color and women actually streaming games and trans creators.
Yep.
And has done very much less to kind of help protect those folks. But when it comes to gambling or big money, or when Pokimane is like, I'm going to boycott when it's a threat to their pocketbooks, and they immediately react. That is kind of funny. I hope Twitch does more to actually protect its users. We'll be keeping an eye on this story for sure. Let's move on to what we've been working on. I'm doing a bunch of stuff, guys. There's too much going on right now. I'm testing some of the new AMD chips. I'm basically going to be rebuilding my computer soon, so that's going to be happening. I have a bunch of embargoed stuff over the next few weeks. So keep an eye out. We're all super busy. Sherlyn, what's up with you?
I have the Apple Watch Ultra in. We are testing it. Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, it's a chunker of a watch, but it feels comfortable. I have the yellow loop on right now. The
Pikachu yellow. Okay.
Yeah.
Pikachu yellow. I also received a different like a Velcro ear loop, the other one that they introduced. I'm wearing the yellow one right now just because it's Pikachu yellow. You're right. My Game Boy was this color. But the case itself is I don't think there's different colors. They're all this silvery. Is it titanium? I forget. And with the orange action buttons on them. So anyway, I'll be testing this out, taking it upstate on a little trip, like a hikey thing, setting waypoints and tracking back and using the siren.
Have you guys seen that show Alone on Netflix? We're just gonna leave Sherlyn alone in the middle of the woods and see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be perfect. I can't wait to be left alone.
I need the behind the scenes on this hiking thing.
I really will be doing some behind the scenes. Yeah,
you're gonna walk 3 feet into the forest, freak out because there's a bug, and then that's gonna be the end of the video.
This is fair. I'll be like, oh my god, if there's a rat, I will be very pissed. If there's a lanternfly, I will be extremely pissed. But
those are everywhere. Yeah,
those are everywhere. So there's that. I'm also still finishing up our full reviews of the Apple Watch SE, the Apple Watch Series 8, and then we have other devices coming through that are also wearables that I can't talk about yet. And then we have several upcoming events. Like next week, we're all on deck for certain events, and then the week after we've got prepping for Google and all of that stuff. Y'all, I can't catch a break, but
there's
Google, Microsoft, and then AMD was real cheeky about announcing their next event in November for their new RDNA 3 stuff.
I like how CJ by Steps in the chat is like, I want to steal Sherlyn's watch. Sorry, no.
Yeah. Yes. It really does look like you're walking around like a big steal me sign, It's well, I guess we'll see what happens with these watches.
You can try. I will punch the watch, and then I might punch something else. We'll see.
Sam, what's up? What are you working on?
I'm reviewing the MSI Stealth 15M right now. It's 15-inch, like kind of thin and light gaming PC, and then definitely prepping for Google and Microsoft, which is also having a Surface event that they just announced. It's busy time of the year again.
Busy time. It doesn't really end is the thing. Like, we're going to be busy for a while, and then we're going to be straight into like, oh, we're now preparing for CES.
For CES.
So
Screw.
Anyway. There's so much happening, but hey, it feels like things are a little back to normal too. Like we are thinking about CES plans. We are seeing all these products come out. less delays from people. We're still seeing delays from game developers and stuff, but in general, it seems like the tech industry is ready to wind back up. So
yeah, I had my first official meeting request for CES. And I'm like, too soon, but no. I'll listen.
Oh man.
I also want to shout out that I didn't get to cover this in person, but the Peloton Row is something that got introduced this week. I was invited to go see it in person, but it coincided with, I think, one of the days I had to do an Apple shoot or something like that. So I couldn't make it, but I see coverage on other websites. I also wanted to point out that a rowing machine by Peloton isn't necessarily like our core coverage, because I feel like most people, this is a $3,300 rowing machine you would buy in your fancy ass mansion where you have an exercise room.
We cover Pelotons, unfortunately.
We do cover Pelotons.
That's what they are.
This is true, but this is not the highest priority on my list, because when I use a rowing machine, I just use whatever's at my gym that I pay.
I kind of want to use a rowing machine. They look cool.
Yeah, well, you think so. I thought they would be easier than they like. Then I realized a trainer was telling me you're doing it wrong. Then I was like, oh, he was like, do it this way. I was like, oh my god, it's harder.
So much harder.
So much harder.
Much harder. Okay, let's round Engadget. We've got some stuff to highlight.
Yes.
Matt Smith from our UK side, your UK bureau chief, reviewed iOS 16. He gave it a really high score. Calls it Apple opens the lock screen, and that is really the big thing. Like the widgets on the lock screen, I think are pretty great. I'm digging iOS 16 quite a bit. Another shout out for Billy's AirPods Pro 2 review, or they're still just AirPods Pro, but Gen 2 technically. But that's it. We've got a lot of stuff. Go check out the main site. We've done a lot of coverage from all the game streams and stuff that happened. There's still some leftover stuff from
Sam also reviewed the Asus folding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I took that on my vacation when I was, traveling throughout Europe, and it was surprisingly durable. I was like, a lot of, especially when you have like a flexible screen that's that big, you kind of want to like, oh god, like treat it with like kid gloves. And I was like, I threw it in my backpack, like threw it in the airplane bins and stuff like that. It was actually surprisingly good. And I was able to like watch like She-Hulk with my wife, like in the terminal, like waiting for our plane. It was actually kind of like,
wait, how were you watching it? Did you?
We watched it. We watched it in tablet mode, so it was like this big screen. Big. And we were sharing it, so like half of it was on my lap, half was on her lap. And it's like there's like huge letter boxes, and it's like it's like awkward, but
were people like having you like what the hell is going on?
We got a couple few
what
stairs.
Kind of iPad is this?
People like it was not computing that like this thing was bending in half.
Are they just holding a monitor in their laps? What is happening?
And I should also mention I got searched like that thing got inspected heavily going through customs twice.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're like screens shouldn't move. What timeline are you?
Right.
From?
Yeah.
Are you from the future?
TSA did not understand.
Amazing.
Oh boy.
So check out Sam's review of that thing that was published this week, I believe. Yes.
Yep, on Monday.
Clean break here. Yep.
Good clean break. Go to picks.
Let's move on to our pop culture picks for the week. As always, Sherlyn has a surprise for us, and I am ready to be disappointed. Please. Sure.
I don't know that you will like this, either of you.
This feels like every week when we start.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've been watching The Imperfects on Netflix.
I don't know. Which one is that?
Tell us more.
Yeah.
The Imperfects is, I know none of the actors' names. It's this redhead boy, Dr. Wonder thing, is basically X-Men, mutants with like, but they're the results of like a scientific experiment gone wrong, more or less. Someone's experimented them using, because they have some kind of genetic thing called AGDS, and the synthetic treatment, the synthetic stem cells they were given has caused them to have all these like deviated powers and stuff like that. So one of them turns into a chupacabra, one of them is a banshee, and one of them is a I forget the name for it, but she has like very strong pheromones that makes people fall for her. But as the show progresses, their powers, so-called, change and evolve. So the banshee person started with only hyperacusis. She started with like heightened sense of hearing, and then eventually evolved into she can also use her vocal cords to transmit like high frequency sounds to like break things and stuff like that. And I don't know what the chupacabra is turning into.
They're literally all X-Men powers. So
exactly, this is a remake of X-Men.
I like how what this is clearly a sign of is that you were having superhero withdrawal. You were just like scraping everything on the floor to get some superheroes.
Hey, this was on Netflix, and they were like, "You might like this," and I was like, "All right."
Yeah, Netflix knows.
Netflix knows.
They know exactly what you like.
But Sam, we gotta watch that. Wait, what was that show? Oh, the new Star Wars Andor or something. I think the man in the chat mentioned
Cannot
it.
wait for Andor. I have not seen it. We have not gotten any early things because it's hard to cover Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, as a longtime Star Wars fan, I'm very excited to see how that goes, because I think still Rogue One probably the most underrated Star Wars movie in the last few years. There's a lot good, even though I feel like the editing is just really bad. Like they chopped up that movie quite a bit. But there is Tony Gilroy, the guy who basically shadow saved Rogue One and directed large parts of it and co-wrote it, is behind this new Star Wars show. And the reviews are great. I cannot wait. Yeah.
I really quickly want to shout out, and this isn't something that I prepped the team for, so graphically we might not have anything, but I did get to speak with James Cameron actually last week.
Just a little bit.
Just casually, for the upcoming Nat Geo / Disney Plus series called Super / Natural. It's actually the James Cameron take on a documentary show, a nature documentary. So it's basically like the David Attenborough type of thing, but made like a Marvel movie, right? Imagine the nature documentary where you see trees, flowers being pollinated or bees screwing each other, but set to Avengers music.
Again, right up your alley. Is it? Did you get to see the show?
I have all the screeners and everything. Okay. I haven't. I've seen the trailer, and it's pretty cool. I was starting to watch one of them, and I had to write more reviews. So, it's on Disney Plus, starting Disney I think September 21st. So yeah.
It is always fun to see James Cameron. He's done a couple TV shows at this point, and Darren Aronofsky, one of my favorite directors.
Oh yeah,
they are all over doing nature shows and realistic stuff. Sometimes I just think it's easy money for these guys.
The other thing is it ties very well with James Cameron's whole thing of being an environmentalist, and he really wants people to love the world, so that by making these shows, if you think of them as your beloved Marvel characters, if you think of B as your beloved Iron Man, you might want to save the bees. I don't know. This is me paraphrasing.
Listen, if you want a movie about saving the bees, you should watch Jupiter Ascending.
Oh Lord,
I have.
I kind of liked it. I know.
Movie rules. It rules. It's so good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
What if the makers of the Matrix were let's do a YA novel for us?
Yes.
Basically.
That's kind of Sense8 too, but yes.
That's sure. Sense8's more adulty. On to what I've been watching. I want to shout out a show that I think all of you would enjoy. See, when I do this, Sherlyn, I'm giving you guys helpful tips.
No, I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest about what I'm
trash.
I want to shout out Industry on HBO Max.
Oh yeah.
And this is a show about young financial bankers and traders, set in London. Yeah, and it is sort of of a piece with Succession. It is about people who are kind of broken and kind of bad people who treat everybody awfully or are all kind of selfish. But I think different than Succession, this is a show about people who are basically at the bottom or at the entry level. Not everybody's super rich. Not everybody's coming from a successful family, and they're trying to claw their way into power and influence in this bank. And what's interesting is that I think the characters are all really well done. Myha'la Herrold plays Harper Stern, who I think is one of the most intriguing main characters in the show right now, because she is super selfish, kind of a jerk, is often doesn't do the things you think a main character would do. But at the same time, I think is really believable and really interesting. This is a show about people who get way too into their work. And it's about overworking, and it's about what the consuming nature of your job can do to you and your soul. So I'm just going to look over at Sherlyn right now.
Wow.
For no reason
I'm
at all.
looking over at Sam.
We're just looking at each other. We're just back and forth. I think the show is really cool. It's really well written. The characters are super interesting. Sherlyn, you will binge this show. I
Stop!
actually know
I have so much stuff to binge already.
You will sit
but
back
yes,
and you will binge the drama and the heartbreak and the sort of these are young people trying to get into the professional world, basically, and there are some older folks around too. I think the characters are really, really well drawn. It's super compelling. It's also weird because this is a show where I have no idea what is happening half the time. I follow tech stuff, But once we get to the financial sides of things, and you're talking about the like a lot of like trader code words for things, this show involves people just staring at Bloomberg terminals sometimes, and like that is the main action of it.
Yeah.
It makes the character's reaction to what's happening very parsable, so I can understand that. But the actual the intricacies of what they're doing with stocks and trades and whatnot, no, I have no clue what's happening. But I think what the miracle of the show is that it's still good, even though that stuff is kind of indecipherable for people outside of that industry. So anyway, the show's really good. It's really cool. Great characters, really well written. Sherlyn, this is your new binge. I guarantee it. Sam, what's up with you?
So the thing that I'm just dived into this week is Cyberpunk Edgerunners, which is the anime version, anime show inspired by the game. And I didn't really play the game that much, but I am loving this show so far. I think it's incredibly well animated. They're like the color, if you like that like neon cyberpunk aesthetic, this show is like endlessly like just eye candy for your eyes. The soundtrack is great. And it's directed by some the guy who did Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill. Yeah. And so
it has that vibe.
I think it's a Studio Trigger animation too. So it's like the quality is there, and it's like, and they dive in like 100 miles an hour. Like the first 30 seconds, like you're into a fight scene, and it's like this thing is brutal. Like this is not like an anime. I'm warning you right now. This is not an anime to watch with your kids. It's like it's very gory.
Studio Trigger stuff is often very, very much not the stuff you watch with your kids.
So it's very much in line with some of the previous stuff. But like it's just kind of an eye opener, and it's just like it feels kind of refreshing in a way that is like, especially if you like sci-fi anime stuff, it's like right up your alley.
Cool. Is this? I gotta ask, is this like real anime or is this CG anime?
It looks like real anime. It doesn't look like cell shaded 3D stuff, but I could be wrong. The tech has gotten a lot better.
Some of it has, but then some of it is like, I reviewed, was it the Witch Ghibli movie, and good God, over Engadget, an abomination. Like a lot of that was just full CG, but there's also some like the Ghost in the Shell most recent show, which is sort of like cell shaded 3D CG anime. I'm like, oh my God, what are you guys doing? I don't know. This looks cool from what I'm seeing.
And it has more of the look of like the old school traditional hand-drawn anime, which is like, I love and I really appreciate. Yeah.
Very cool. I think I'll check that out. Anything else you guys want to mention before we wrap?
I'm going to be playing the demo for Diofield Chronicle. I think reviews just went up today. I'm a longtime strategy tactics gamer, so even if you don't feel like, you don't have to buy it, there is a demo for that game. So I'm going to be trying out that this weekend as well.
All right, I think we're good to wrap, Sherlyn.
Well, that's it for the episode, everyone. Thank you, as always. Well, that's it for this week's episode, everyone. Thank you, as always, for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our very own Terrence O'Brien. This podcast is produced by Ben Elman. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Twitter, and I podcast about movies and TV at the Filmcast at thefilmcast.com.
And you can find Sam online at
Sam Rutherford.
And if you want to send me pictures of good food that's not Singaporean because I will crave, I am at Sherlyn Low on Twitter. Email us your thoughts at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review, please, on iTunes, and subscribe on your favorite.
The script is right there.
I'm not even looking at the script. I'm doing, I know. I'm not
all right.
even, okay. I'll do the whole last line. I'll do the last line.
Again.
No, just doing the last line.
I'm going to run to the bathroom. Be right back.
Yeah, go you. Email us your thoughts at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review, please, on iTunes, and subscribe on anything that gets podcasts. Couldn't even freaking make it through that. Y'all know, you know why? Because I was trying to my final recommendation, I was thinking of whether to put it in the podcast or not. I want to recommend that anyone in New York goes to Urban Hawker.
Yeah, well, Sherlyn, we're gonna have to go because I really want to go.
Oh yeah, there's chili crab, there's chicken rice, there's I heard that the Hokkien mee is good. The Hokkien mee being like Teochew style noodles, like a stir-fried but with gravy sort of noodle. And Lady Wong, obviously I love Lady Wong, so Lady Wong is there, and that's how I kind of knew of the place and have been getting some behind the scenes look at it. So yeah, not for the podcast, I guess, but for all the people who are tuning in to the YouTube right now. If you're in the New York area, if you're ever in New York, go to Urban Hawker, 135 West 50th Street, is all like Singaporean food, hawker style Singaporean food. I love it. And yes, somebody please reboot and troubleshoot me.
You sounded like me when I'm trying to do call to actions at the end of videos. It's just like, just get to the end and then you flub a line. It's like, oh god.
My favorite with your call to action. So a bit of behind the scenes for everyone that's watching. We at the end of our review videos or hands-on videos, we do this call to action, which we get people to subscribe or like. Sam's always goes like, hit that subscribe button or something. Like you have like a YouTuber line. Meanwhile, mine is just
you got to smash that like button. Hit the bell for the notifications. You got to do it every time.
You got to do all that. I refuse to. So I'm always like, sure, subscribe. Thanks. Like it's like no,
come
mine
back
are
another day.
Yeah, come back, sayonara. No, mine's always the standard. I came up with a script ages ago and I never bothered to change it, which is for more reviews on smartphones, laptops, and wearables, make sure you subscribe to Engadget. And then I'm like, thank you for watching. Hey.
Nothing like annihilate that like button.
Yeah.
Annihilate
that's basically Sam. That's basically Sam.
Atomize the subscribe button.
Eat some edamame. That's all I gotta say, you know. So questions from the chat.
Okay, questions from the chat. I have some stuff banked from a while ago. CF542 asks, is it true that the new iPhone 14 can run 8 eSIMs at once?
I did say, yep, you can. Apple said you can, yes.
That's cool.
And if you have dual eSIM slots, then yes, you can run up to 16.
That's a lot of eSIMs.
Which means, and is that a like iPhone 14 thing, or is that like an iOS 16 thing?
iPhone 14 because it's the SIMless
thing.
But I believe that the phones that support eSIM, which means since the 10R, they should be able to support multiple.
Yeah. What is the hardware needed for eSIM? Where does that live?
In the phone.
No, but where in the phone? What chip?
Yeah, I have no clue. Honestly, it's a provisioning thing, right? So
Yeah.
it's like they worked with the carriers to embed that, but they've been supporting eSIM since the 10R, and they've been using the eSIM as like primary mode of activation since the 13. So you would think, they would be able to support the multiple profiles.
I when I got my 13 Pro, like eSIM was not an option when I was going through Verizon.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, you had to have gone to an Apple store, yeah. No, I think it's worth checking if it's a hardware, like older phones can support up to 8 thing, but I know that the 14s at the very least can do up to 8 per eSIM slot. Yeah.
Okay, and dude named Charlie suggested that I convert my SIM to an eSIM for the US line and then buy a local SIM once I'm in Mexico. That's one of the things I was thinking about doing. Then we've got Mark Dell mentioned that he loved seeing some early footage of Bastion. Giant Bomb had a lot of great footage about how it went through development. I am using this as an excuse to shout out the other NoClip documentary for Developing Hell, which is NoClip's following the development of Hades. That's especially interesting because it follows the development like as they go into lockdown. Like, what is it? Hades was already out in early access for a while, but they finished developing that game completely remotely, and that was really impressive.
Yeah, there were people broke in and stole hardware from them, like in the middle of that. I love NoClip, guys. Support if you want like good stuff. If you like good journalism out there, you got to support these folks, please.
I also find Danny O'Dwyer's accent very soothing in a way.
Very good.
So
Very
he's
good.
just great. Yeah, great to always listen to him.
Yep.
A lot of people were talking about Apple Watches a while ago, saying they want to help me review and stuff. Like, I mean, wouldn't it be nice? But no.
Wouldn't it be nice to have that much time?
Why?
Yeah, we're not like some. I know like PC Mag and some other places, like they actually have a lab of people to do some testing work. That is helpful.
Where Sam and I used to work before together, we also had a lab for testing, which was nice.
That's nice.
CNET has a like a tech house in like Kentucky somewhere, I think.
Like a smart
They
house.
did it at one
all the
point.
smart house stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Spark says, in relation to the Twitch thing, if they crack down on gambling, are they going to take down gacha games too? Gacha games are not so different from gambling in a way. That's a good question. Then there's the other thing of, are they going to crack down on games that have loot boxes? Because depending on your laws in your local area, loot box games might also be
A
gambling.
lot of developers are also moving away from that. Like there are no loot boxes in Overwatch 2.
I was just about to say that, like, loot boxes
reason,
have their own set of legislation, and then people have started figuring out like ways to get around the loot box thing while still enticing like microtransactions. You've seen like the rise of like battle passes on games like over the last few years, and so it's definitely the video game industry metagame on like how to monetize stuff is like kind of changing.
My brain has a hard time wrapping around the idea of battle passes, like how that works, what you get from them, because you're paying for the privilege to pay for more things ultimately.
And it's also weird because you're paying for the privilege and you still have to play, so you can buy a battle pass and then not get all the rewards, which seems really weird.
Oh man, games are in a weird place, folks.
Spark asked if I will dive to a depth of 40 meters to test the Ultra. The answer is no. I will chill out at the bottom of a pool, maybe.
Not
not that I know of yet.
Swimming.
Pretty good. I'm okay. I'm pretty good at swimming. I used to swim every week when I was a child, or twice a week.
Okay, you're way better at swimming than I am. I can literally tread water, and that's it.
Yes.
We'll try to get you your scuba diving license so you can actually test out that 40 meter depth.
I don't need to go scuba diving. We're good. The whole reason I don't do scuba diving or snorkeling is because I am terrified of fish. Thank you very much. Y'all don't even know the nightmares I have had. Like one time my family took me snorkeling and I swam. I was like, this is gonna be fun. Let's look at some corals. A whole school of fish came towards me. I freaked the F out. I turned right back into the boat. I ran right back to the boat. I was like, no.
Those dangerous fish. Oh man.
Do you know fish are cold? Like they're just weird. They're freaking terrifying.
Oh man. This is why we never have
fish
seafood, I guess.
Are cold.
Yeah.
Sherlyn, are you talking about even like the cute fish? Haven't you seen
cute? There are no cute fish.
No.
There are no cute fish.
Have you seen some of those puffer fish? The puffer fish are really cute.
Puffer fish are poisonous.
They can kill you.
Yeah, okay,
they can't
if
kill
you touch them, but if you look at them,
no, they're still terrible. Well, I'll look at pictures of them. Y'all know, like my worst fear is like a whale.
A beautiful carp. Beautiful like a goldfish thing.
Your worst fear is a whale? Is that like
a carb?
Whales aren't fish.
I know they're not fish, but they're terrifying underwater creatures. Terrifying underwater. Huge.
Is it because they're too big?
They're huge, yeah.
You're kind of just misunderstanding the depths of Sherlyn's fear for all things.
Oh, thank you for revealing this to me now. This is a gift.
No, but Dev,
bugs, even cute critters like squirrels. Sherlyn does not do squirrels.
I'm less afraid of squirrels nowadays, Sam, because I go to Hamilton Park all the time now, and there's a lot of squirrels there, and I see them and I freak out a bit.
Squirrels will mess you up though, so be careful.
Yeah, they'll F you up. But but Dev, you knew this. There was one Tribeca where we went and I was forced to watch sharks in VR.
I recall.
That was terrifying.
I love the TikTok videos that people do now when they go on whale watches and like the whales just like know they're there and they do a show for them. They're like, oh, I'm gonna do a leap. I'm gonna do a leap for you and rock the water all over your boat. So it's like, is the whale trying to attack them? Or is it trying to put it on the show?
Yeah.
It's trolling.
I want to get Sherlyn there. Yeah.
So Sherlyn, given your background, how do you feel about otters?
No, I don't touch them. Like I'll look at them.
Okay,
I used to work at a zoo, which is very weird.
Thoughts on rabbits? Dude named Charlie wants to know.
I know.
Cute or scary?
So I am born in the year of the rabbit. And because of that, I think they're my sisters. I like them.
Well, but rabbits can get so afraid of things they die. Did you know that? You could scare rabbits to death very easily. Like me. So yeah, perfect.
And the reason I asked about otters is like the big connection with Singapore and otters. So like otters can be vicious, but they're also very cute.
They're also very cute. In my home country, there are giant otters, so that's a whole thing.
Yeah, that's why I brought up the zoo. America. The only encounter I've had with otters were in the zoo when
they're very cute.
Worked in the Singapore Zoo. Yeah, they're fine.
Cute.
They're whatever.
This is a rabbit hole. Like this.
It'd be a literal rabbit hole.
Maybe an overtime thing is each episode we find out what one thing that Sherlyn is afraid of.
That's every episode we had to bring Sam back on because Sam knows too much.
We could keep this bit going for years.
Yeah,
we could. We really could. Sam knows. Yeah, Sam actually does know.
Yep.
It's a problem.
I recall like when we try to also get seafood or fish or something at restaurants.
I don't eat shrimp. I don't eat shrimp.
You're missing out.
I'm not afraid. I'll eat stingray. I love stingray.
I mean, shrimps do look a little weird when they're live.
Sam, what?
Squirreling around.
I love. Oh, I hate shrimp, but stingrays are cool.
Stingrays, the thing that can impale you. Yeah.
Stingrays are delicious.
Okay.
Eels too.
You need to eat as many as possible to get back at the population for Steve Irwin.
Yeah.
Well.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're pretty much done, right?
We're done. We're talking about food. I'm hungry now. Why?
Not why I'm
It's
too.
lunchtime, baby.
It's noon.
Yeah.
All right, thank you
Thanks,
all
everybody.
for joining us. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks everybody for watching. The video comes to you via our video team, which is Julio Barrientos and Luke Brooks. If you are into Engadget, you're into gadgets, you're into technology, you know that we live in a world of algorithms better than the average person. So rate us on iTunes, tell some friends about us, just help us with that viral lift. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining, y'all. Bye.